Thank you for joining me on the journey. This is Completed Christianity, so welcome back. Another episode of Being Complete. And today is first day, sun worship, and we continue on talking about Simon Magus, or as I've come to call him, Simon Maggot. But, a lot of things didn't have to be so bad. A lot of things could have been better. But we have an enemy. We have an adversary. We have the devil that wants to subvert things and pervert things. And he wants to create counterfeits. So whatever the Father does through Messiah, the enemy wants to counterfeit it. And that's what we're looking at here. And today, we're going to look at this counterfeit exposed kind of all throughout the New Testament. And so, let's take a look at that. Jump right in here. And first, we're going to look at a couple of quotes here from the Neuschaf-Herzog Encyclopedia of Religious Knowledge. And we used this, I think, last time. This 25-year episcopate of Peter at Rome is evidently due to a statement of Justin Martyr regarding the labors of Simon Magus at Rome. So they're saying that people like Justin Martyr, that they got these two identities kind of confused through the tradition, through the time. Communication's not like it was today. And so things just kind of got a little embellished or whatever, and you had a lot of people in here, as we're going to see. We have these followers of Simon Magus, these Simonians. We have them in here, messing up the mix, and so the Neuschaf-Herzog goes on to say that plain traces of this error, which is Gnosticism, what Simon Magus was teaching. Plain traces of this error appear later in the epistles of Paul to the Colossians, to Timothy, and to Titus, although Titus really deals with the Jewish Gnosticism, which both, whether it's the Samaritan Gnosticism through Simon Magus or it's the Jewish Gnosticism, it all has its roots in Babylon. When the Jews were in Babylon, they brought back these things, and these types of things eventually, become what's known as the Kabbalah today, or Kabbalah, and it's Jewish mysticism and witchcraft. And so it also says or in apostolic Christianity, it says this heresy in the 2nd century spread over the whole church, east and west, in various schools of Gnosticism. And so these followers of Simon Magus, they were proclaiming to be followers of Messiah. They're claiming to be part of the faith, and they had a perverted ideology. And they had received this through Simon Magus, and they began to teach these things that were Gnostic in nature. These things that they do away with the things in the Old Testament, like we talked about before, that Simon didn't see the way of saving the Old Testament, but that it needed to be done away with, which is what Christianity teaches today. And we're receiving this line, this chain, that we don't keep matters of the law. We receive this through the Catholic Church, through the Simonians, through Simon Magus. And so this heresy, Gnosticism, in the 2nd century spread over the whole church, east and west. So Josephus, he tells us about the Samaritans, like we talked about before, that they claim to be Jews, but they're not. Whenever it benefited them, they wanted to be Jewish. When it didn't benefit them, they wanted to be Gentiles. When the Jews are in adversity, they, the Samaritans, deny that they are akin to them, and then they confess the truth. But when they perceive that some good fortune hath befallen the Jews, the Samaritans immediately pretend to have commune with them, saying that they belong to the Jews and desire their genealogy from the posterity of Joseph, Ephraim, and Manasseh. Another point, Josephus, he says, and they, the Samaritans, see the Jews in prosperity. They pretend that they are changed and allied to them and call them kinsmen, as though they were derived from Joseph and had by means an original alliance with them. But when they see them fallen into a low condition, they say they're in no way related to them, and that the Jews have no right to expect any kindness or marks of kindred from them. But they declare that they are sojourners that come from other countries. So there are Jews who say that they're Jews who are not Jews that say they are. And so these two verses here from Revelation, behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I'll make them come and worship before your feet. I know your works and tribulation and poverty, but you're rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan. And so these were they. And if a first century Jew was reading this and it said that say they're Jews but are not, there's only one group of people they're going to be thinking of, and that's Samaritans. The Samaritans, they say they're Jews, but they're not. Just like Messiah told the woman at the well. He said that you don't know what you worship. But we know what we worship. And that salvation is of the Jews. But the Samaritans began to be teaching at the time, at least by the time of Simon Magus, they began teaching salvation through Simon Magus, salvation from the law, not through the law. And salvation through the law is in Messiah is the law. He is the Word. He is the Word made flesh. He's the law made flesh, the Torah made flesh. He is the embodiment of all that is in the law and the prophets. It's Him. And then He shed His blood so that that blood could wipe away the stain of sin on our life, and that we should go forward, keep all His commandments, and work out that salvation with fear and trembling. And so, I know your works, tribulation and poverty, and I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan. And so, this is a point in the New Testament that it begins to, it shows that these people that are of the Samaritans, that they started a sect. They started a counterfeit of the followers of Messiah. And this began through Simon Magus. So here, we take a look at some other points of reference throughout the New Testament here. And so here, and of the Father and of the Messiah, in whom are hidden the treasures of wisdom and knowledge. Okay, remember, Gnosticism is about this hidden wisdom, this hidden knowledge. Gnosis, it means knowledge in Greek. They're connected also to science. It's this hidden knowledge, mystery religion, which it goes back to the Babylonian mysteries, in whom are hidden all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge. And this I say, that no one deceives you with enticing words. So these people deceiving with enticing words were the Simonians, the followers of Simon and his followers, that were saying, yeah, you don't need to try and, seek and find that knowledge over there through following that. All you need to do is follow us, because we've already received all the knowledge. Okay, but the scripture says, the Messiah says, that those who seek shall find. And this tradition, started by Simon Magus and carried over in the Catholic Church today, says that only they have the revelation. You don't have to look for it. You don't have to seek for it, because they have it. You just got to go to them, and they'll give it to you. They'll tell you what the scripture means. And if you come up with something other than what they did, then you're a heretic. So there's no seeking and finding. We've done it. We've done it for you. We have the way. So they say. So they would claim. But this is completely outside of Scripture. It's those who seek shall find. But definitely some seek and they find the wrong way, just like Simon Magus. Because the wrong way will jump up on you, and you have to be really conservative in your thought processes to be able to keep from falling away, falling astray. So, see that no one makes a prey of you through philosophy and empty deceit, according to the tradition of men, according to the elementary matters of the world, and not according to Messiah. So right here is another pinpoint where it's combating this Gnosticism through Simon Magus and his followers. Okay, and this Colossians 2 hits it real hard. So here's another verse, Colossians 2. Let no one deprive you of the prize, one who takes delight in false humility and worship of messengers or angels, taking his stand on what he has not seen, puffed up by his fleshly mind, and not holding fast to the head, which is Messiah. And so these, they were taking on their own ideals, and they were calling them the true ideals. So on again, Colossians 2, if then you died with Messiah from the elementary matters, and of course in the Mark of the Beast series, I talk about these elementary matters and what that is, where that comes from, and the spirits behind that. If you died with Messiah from the elementary matters of the world, as though living in the world, do you subject yourself to dogmas? Do not touch, do not taste, do not handle, which are all to perish with use according to the commands and teachings of men. So this is what was going on at the time. The gnosis, the commandments of men, teaching commandments of men, and this was also going on both sides with the Gentile Gnosticism and the Jewish Gnosticism, because it all has its root back in Babylon. Okay, these indeed have the appearance of wisdom in self-imposed worship, humiliation, and harsh treatment of the body. So it's asceticism, which you find a lot in the Catholic traditions, where they want to basically abuse themselves, and they supposedly get some, that shows your piety because of your abuse to yourself by either not eating certain foods or actually flat beating yourself and bloodying yourself flogging yourself. And so, in Timothy, O Timothy, watch over that which has been entrusted you, turning aside from profane and empty babblings and contradictions of the falsely called knowledge, gnosis, okay, which some, having professed it, have missed the goal concerning the belief. And so these people, they were getting off into this gnosis, this Gnosticism, following Simon Magus and his Simonians, that they were coming in and they were saying, yeah, we're the true believers. We're the true followers of Messiah. And eventually it came to the point where Simon was the Messiah. He was the Gnostic Messiah. Just like it says in Acts that the Samaritans, that they were saying that Simon was the great power of the mighty one. And it was all these lying signs and wonders that were deceiving the people. Timothy 6. I don't know what that one was from. So, in John, 1 John 2, little children, is the last hour, and as you have heard, the Anti-Messiah is coming. And even now many Anti-Messiahs have come. This is how we know that it is the last hour. They went out from us, okay, these Simonians, Simon Magus, they went out from us, but they were not of us. For if they had been of us, they would have stayed with us. But in order that it might be made manifest that none of them were of us. And so they had this infiltration going on, this counterfeiting going on that was started with Simon Magus. So 1 John 4, and every spirit that does not confess that Yahshua Messiah has come in the flesh is not of the mighty one. And this is the spirit of the Anti-Messiah, which you have heard is coming and is now already in the world. Simon Magus, he was of the spirit of the Anti-Messiah. He was already in the world. His followers were already in the world. They were already counterfeiting the doctrines of Messiah and perverting them and turning them into doctrines and traditions of men that were profane and abominable. So, this is 2 John 1, and this is the love that we walk according to his commands. This is the command, as you have heard from the beginning, you should walk in it, because many who are leading astray went out into the world and do not confess Yahshua Messiah is coming in the flesh. This one is he who is leading astray and the Anti-Messiah. So, this leading astray and being, Anti-Messiah or anti-law, anti-Torah, okay? But you can't have Torah without Messiah. Messiah is the Torah. You can't separate them. A lot of people in Torah walks, or some of them, they're separating the two, or they can't keep the two together. The two are the same thing. Okay, you have to have them both. There is no Messiah without Torah. There is no Torah without Messiah. Okay, Messiah is the Word made flesh. He is the law made flesh. The law is the Word, even he says so himself in Mark 7, Matthew 15. So, these leading astray, that's connected to Deuteronomy 13, the one that comes in that tells you that there's another way, that there's another law. You can do away with these laws. That one leads you astray. It's a false prophet. So, this command that you've heard in the beginning, you should walk in it. because many are leading astray went out into the world who do not confess that Yahshua Messiah is coming in the flesh. This is in Catholic traditions. In Catholic traditions, I mean, any Catholic would argue this, but they don't confess that he came in the flesh. Not the flesh like the word says, that he was flesh just as you and I are flesh. Because in Catholic traditions, they teach that Mary is still a virgin. Well, you can't give birth and be a virgin. And so they teach that he passed as light through the womb. Okay, well, if he did that, he's not come in the flesh. Not the flesh like we have. This is why in Gnosticism, which Gnosticism is Catholicism, we're gonna look at that later on. Gnosticism is Catholicism. So they teach that Messiah has not come in the flesh, but that he had a spirit body that just appeared to be flesh, which also does away with that he actually died in the flesh, does away with the sin atonement, the resurrection, perverts all of that. So 2 John, everyone who is transgressing and not staying in the teaching of Messiah does not possess the mighty one. The one who stays in the teaching of Messiah possesses both the Father and the Son. If anyone comes to you and does not bring this teaching, do not receive him into your house. For he who greets him shares in his wicked works. So this right here is another stab at Simon and his followers, these Gnostics. Simon is credited as being the father of Gnosticism in what is known as the Christian faith. Okay. And so when you greet such a one, you share in their wicked works. So this is another hit at Simon and his Gnosticism in the New Testament. And so here in Jude 1:4, for certain men have slipped in, those whose judgment was written about long ago, wicked ones, perverting the favor of our Elohim, mighty one, for indecency, and denying the only master, Yahshua, and our master, only master Yahweh, and our master Yahshua Messiah. So, these people, throughout the New Testament, they're dealing with these people. This was what began to fracture from the beginning, began to fracture the apostles' doctrine. As soon as Simon Magus came on the scene in Acts 9, began to fracture the apostles' doctrine. And like other traditions, like the Catholic tradition, the Orthodox tradition, and so they want to say that their tradition or whatever is unchanged from the beginning, goes all the way back to the apostles, and that the Protestant traditions that they're invalid because there's all these different denominations. But the apostles' doctrine, from the beginning, it began to fracture and split. And this is human nature. And these fractures and splits, they had their biggest split and fracture with Simon Magus. Psalm 89:34, my covenant I will not break nor alter the word that has gone out of my lips. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Comment down below. Comments of opposition are welcome. Just don't say anything dumb like we're not under the law or under grace, because you've been taught to use that verse outside of the bounds of its intended context. Subscribe now. Smash that subscribe button and ring that bell so that you get notifications of all future videos.